Welcome, 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 everybody. I'm so glad we're here. Uh, I wanted to just say today we're going to be looking at the neck, shoulder, arm, and hand complex. But I just want to say next week we'll be doing the body's core structure. I mean core structure with our inner firmness of spine and pelvis that supports all the rest of our cantilevered movements. And if that core is not strong and resilient and mobile, so much can't happen freely for us. And then our unfolding of our holding patterns and so on. And the week after that will be the biochemistry of anxiety. What is anxiety? And what are the swath of mental and bodily dysfunctions that a high state, steady state, chronic state of anxiety produces for us, and how we can get a handle on that. So I want to say also at the outset, please avail yourself of the chat sidebar to ask your questions. We will deal with those either as they come up, if Saraswati deems them to be timely, or take a break now and then to see what those questions have accumulated. So, yes, am I ready to go? Let me take a pause. And I suggest you join me. Let a few easy, full breaths in and out oxygenate your system and your brain. And bring our minds down to a calmer state where I can remember what we're going to be up to more clearly. You can absorb the material more clearly. And I am ready. So today we'll be looking at neck, shoulder, arm, and hand. And the first thing I want to take a look at are the blood and nerve supply to the arm and the hand, the juice that animates all this wonderful arm opening and hand sophistication movement that has marked a fundamental shift in evolution. It was the creation of, through the primate culture, hanging in trees and whatnot, opening up the extent of these arms from the four-footed restriction and articulating this thumb finger trick that only we have on the planet, which has made the human being such a creative being, such a tool using, building, constructing, handwriting, all the rest of it sort of thing. So before I look into that nerve and blood supply, I want to remind us all that when we're talking about the movement of the arm and we're thinking about the shoulder girdle that controls that movement, how vast that shoulder girdle is. I've always talked about it as a jacket that is sliding around our rib cage, front and back. And this entire jacket of muscular structure that sits on top of our rib cage and surrounds it on all sides from top to bottom are the primary movers of the arm. So everything you're seeing here from occiput to pelvic rim are arm muscles on the back of the body. You can see that everything except this little erector spinae window in here is attached either to the upper arm bone or attached to the scapula. And we look in front and we see the same thing, that the shoulder and arm movement towards the frontal plane of our body extends all the way from our clavicles, coexistent with the trapezius up here. And look at these fibers leaking into the abdominals. They are, in fact, continuous with the abdominals. So if I want to reach high, my abdomen has to be able to lengthen and extend. So taking a look at this little picture, which I love, this is the inside of that structure. So what's happened here is the rib cage has been lifted out, and we're looking at the underside of all those shoulder girdle muscles. Again, from occiput to pelvis, from all of our spinal vertebrae out to attaching either to the upper arm bone or to the trapezius back here. Serratus anterior that draws us forward, rhomboids that are so key to controlling the movement of the shoulder girdle, latissimus dorsi, and so on and so forth. So have in mind the totality of this jacket when we are talking about the mobility of the arms to reach in space in all directions, very nearly a spherical extent of those arms that involve all of these extensive muscles back and front. So now taking a look at our nerve and blood supply down into this all-important human arm and hand that we have been blessed with. You can see here, running under the clavicle, running under the pectoral muscle, running under the pectoral minor, which we'll see in more detail later, but running under all those muscles through our armpit, down into our arms, is the major blood supply for the entire arm and hand, and the major venous return from the arm and hand. And all of the nerves that descend from the, I don't know what that is, excuse me. It will go away. All of the nerves that come from the cervical column, which we'll see in a little more detail under all this stuff later. All of those nerves converge into a little crisscross. Darn it. Took care of that little detail. It's never happened before. That phone almost never rings. Well, excuse me. As we were saying, all of these nerve trunks coming down from the cervical column crisscross themselves into a plexus of extensive plexus of nerve interaction, and all of those nerves ultimately come under the clavicle, under the pectoral minor, to descend down into the arm to innervate the entire arm and hand. Here is a closer look at the exit point of all these nerves. So almost the entire cervical column are the exit ports for the nerves that feed the arm and the hand. We can take a little closer look at that. And we can see then descending from the neck, onto the clavicle, under the pectoral muscles in front, running down the arm, reaching out their branches. Of course, this is a very incomplete picture of the nerve trunks as they come down through the arm, fan out to innervate the trapezius bicep complex, fan out further down to extend their branches. And these little branches coming off here will extend tentacle-like, web-like, and ultimately feather-like into all the muscles that innervate our lower arm. Um, and then ultimately running down into the nerve supply for the entire hand. And as we shall see, it's unbelievable sensory motor intricacies. And another feature in this little passageway here is that, again, here we are, pectoral muscle has been